Hello and welcome to my podcast, Up Your Total Glow, your podcast for your body, mind and soul to support, guide and empower you to uncover your most glowing, healthiest and feel-good version of you. I am super excited that you are here because if you ask me, there's nothing that looks and feels better. In today's episode, I'm speaking with the amazing Alan Caroll. Alan is an education psychologist and author of the Broadband Connection, the art of delivering a winning IT presentation. Alan is passionate about giving people the experience of mindfulness and presence through public speaking. And he has dedicated his life in search of tools to escape psychological suffering caused by ego to reconnect with consciousness. This was an amazing interview, and among many other things, Alan shared with us what is a mindful, spacious speaker? What are some of the benefits of practicing mindful, spacious speaking? What is the difference between reacting and responding, And what do great leaders have in common when they speak? This interview is rich in wisdom, and if it is your goal to speak your truth with lots of meaningful impact, then this interview is absolutely for you. Please enjoy. Hello and welcome, Alan. I am so excited that you are here with me today. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Ruth. It's an opportunity that I look forward to sharing things with your audience.
And I'm excited. So maybe to start off, could you just introduce yourself?
Background information. I chose the pathway of psychology as my journey through life. And so all my training and practice has been in psychology because that has to do with the inner journey. And my specialty over the last 50 years has been the ego conversation and how do you escape from the grip of the ego into the spaciousness of the being, where
beautiful.
Joy and happiness live. Suffering lives in the ego area, joy and satisfaction. So that's been my mission, my purpose in life. And that's the way I'd like to say hello to your audience.
Wow, sounds very juicy. And I feel, and I've just said this to you before we started, that I feel this is the dance we are all doing all the time. Or is it just me, the dance between ego and then this beingness and this authenticity, this presence that we all are.
To add to that, a way of looking at the ego is the Buddhist term is disembodied. Disembodied means you are focusing on the thoughts in your mind and all those, and versus focusing on embodied. Embodied means that you have disconnected from the thoughts and now you are connected to the body in which there are no thoughts. And so the challenge is to be able to create consciously empty spaces between the thoughts that you think, and also, which is difficult because the thoughts that you think are metaphysical. They're not, I can't grab my thoughts. But you can create a space, which is like the delete key on your printer, on your computer. You delete something, it creates a space between the sounds that you speak. And when you can consciously create a space, a pause between the sounds that you speak, which is available to everybody, whether you're young or old. You can consciously create empty spaces between the sounds that you speak. And when you do that, the ego disappears and the being appears, because you got to be present to do that.
Beautiful. So in yoga, we try to do the same. When we do meditation, we try to find spaces in between all those millions of thoughts. And it really reminds me of what you've just said, or maybe it's all the same. But you, I think, if I'm correct, you are a mindful, spacious speaker, and you help others you educate others to speak in that way. Is that true?
Yes, I've earned my living by looking at people on stage and how they speak. And corporations around the world. I've been doing this for 50 years. And what I train people is, let's get present. Let's get grounded. Before you start singing your song, saying what you want to say, do you have control of the instrument? Musical, like your body's a musical instrument, like a wind instrument. Do you have control of it? And most people, what do you mean? I know how to speak. Well, yeah, you know how to make sounds, but you really don't have control of the instrument. Why do I say that? Because after watching thousands of people, everybody knows how to speak. Nobody knows how to pause when they're speaking, because the ego wants to speak. And so we train people on how to pause. And when you pause, you begin to wake up. Wake up from what? Wake up from the dream of thought. But you don't know you're in a dream of thought. And the analogy that I would use to describe the waking up experience is when at night you dream. Everybody dreams. But few people have lucid dreams. A lucid dream is you wake up in the dream. You realize, see, it's 2 o'clock at night and I'm dreaming, and I'm aware that I'm dreaming. And all of a sudden you have control of the dream. And pausing is the waking up from the dream of thought. And that is available to everybody. But very few people do it. But you become conscious and awake, and so you have a clear view of the movie that you're watching in your reality. It's a clearer view. And so when you have a clearer view, your actions are more appropriate, more loving, more compassionate to the world around you, because you begin to realize that the world around you and the world inside of you are connected. So the nicer I am to you, Ruth, the more joy I experience in my life. So you want to be compassionate and nice to everybody. And you begin to realize that we're all connected. So it's to my benefit to be compassionate and nice and loving with the way I vibrate the air with my voice.
So beautiful. Oh, I love that. Yeah, 2 thoughts that came to my mind. One thought is, I feel that our society is asking us to do completely the opposite all the time. Like, go faster, speak faster, be on all different social channels. And even, like if you are on Instagram, you have like 1 minute to speak. So if you want to get some information across, you have to speak rather fast, no pauses, no what you have been speaking about. So I feel our society is more and more training us to do exactly the opposite. Maybe that's just how I feel, but that's what came to my mind. I would love your thoughts about that. And the other thought, of course, okay, tell us, how do we practice spacious, mindful speaking? What are the tools? I want that too.
I'm just writing down so I don't forget what you are saying to me.
Oh, you're too awesome.
The the first one is very, very important. The speed at which the things are happening, the changes of forms in the reality in which we live, from environmental changes to political changes to, things are constantly changing very, very, very rapidly compared to what it was in the past. And what the pauses do is they create a buffer zone between you and your actions. And right now, there's no buffer zone. The people get easily offended. They have identified themselves with their ego. And if I say anything about you, hey, what are you talking about? There's an immediate reaction in their physical body. And there's no, wait a minute. Something's happening in my reality. Let me just take a step back before I pull the trigger, before I get upset, what's going on with my body? Can I calm the energy? And the way I look at it is the agitation that is caused by all the things that are happening, constantly agitated, talk, watch the social media, look at so it's constantly upset, constantly agitated, and you have to be able to pause.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you pause, everything becomes clear. And when it's clear, your actions, you become aware of what is the appropriate action to take to the benefit of the all, rather than to the benefit of my ego. And social media is an example of how many hours do you spend in the social media world? How easily are you upset would be another one. You lose presence because you get caught by somebody's story all the time. You are constantly reacting. And so in order to heal that, you got to be able to shut off the source. You have to be able to have a balance. I have the yin yang symbol. It's the balance between the yang energy, which is the forward thrusting of your energy when you speak, and the yin energy when it's the feminine, it's the vulnerability, it's the valley, it's the valley. And so when you watch a professional speaker, there's the yang energy, but also there's the yin energy. And so now you have a balance between the outward flow, which is the disembodiment, and the inner flow, which is the embodiment. And now you have what in Buddhism we'll call equilibrium. You have mental equilibrium. Nothing is right, nothing is wrong. There's a great quote that Shakespeare has in Hamlet, I believe. Nothing is either right or wrong, but thinking makes it so. And in mindfulness, which is the business that I'm in, you got to get to the place where you no longer judge what you're seeing. You're able just to be present with what is without judging it. And that means you got to practice creating spaces. So that leads to the second question. The mindful spacious speaking is easy to do, but you have to be awake to do it. And so it is the ability to stop the flow of my thoughts that I am speaking and stick an empty space in there. We'll call it a pause. And when you stick that empty space in there, you then can take your magnifying glass and your flashlight, and you can shine it on that empty space that you just created. And when you shine it on that empty space that you created, you discover that there's a tool present, a metaphysical tool. This represents the metaphysical tool in which you can speak when you want to speak, which is go, and you can stop. And when you can control the starting of your speaking and the stopping of your speaking, you then control the timing of your speaking. And when you control the timing of your speaking, you ask yourself, gee, Ruth, who am I speaking for? And you would say, well, I'm speaking for Alan. I'm speaking for Ruth. I thought I was speaking for me. Well, then you say, well, who is me? Well, me is my identity. Okay, well, who is your identity? Well, your identity is the accumulation of all the things that you've experienced from the time you were born to this moment of now. Your religion, the color of your skin, your family, your political, your football team, whatever your identity is, that becomes your egoic identity. And so when I disrupt the speaking pattern of my egoic identity, then I've achieved a state in India, they will call it mukti, which is liberation from the thoughts. And that means that there's a space on the other side of the thoughts that you think, which we'll call mindfulness or being. And to access that space, you can access that space by creating in the physical world a space between the sounds that the ego is speaking. And when you can do that, one, then you have tamed the tongue of the ego. And the ego is powerful, but now it's under your control rather than automatic reaction. You're right. No, it's under your control. And that's being able to stop. So anytime in our conversation today, when you ask me a question, what I want you to do is consciously stop for 2 seconds. When you ask me a question, and you'll notice that a wave of relaxation flows through your body, because every time you speak, it creates tension. And every time you pause, it creates relaxation. And if you can keep yourself relaxed as all these things are coming at you, all these experiences and social media things are coming, if you can keep your physical body relaxed, then you're like a screen door, and the energy just flows through you. You don't get stuck with anything. But if you can't relax your body, then you're resisting. That's not wrong. You did it. You shouldn't have done that. And that is damaging mentally, emotionally, physically, health-wise, in every possible way you can describe it. Tension in your body is not a positive thing to your spiritual, mental, physical growth.
To say the least. I feel already super relaxed just listening to you. Honestly, I don't know, just the flow and rhythm of your voice is really soothing to me. To me, this going and doing, which I obviously still have to learn a lot, or I'm a practitioner in creating pause and space in between.
Yeah. You are creating space.
Yeah.
And you become more spacious. You become more, the analogy that in the wintertime, the soil is hard. And in springtime, we want to do planting. We want to add some fertilizer. So we have this thing called a aerator. An aerator is you roll it on the lawn, and it has spikes in it, and it puts holes in the soil, which aerates. It adds air to the soil. And so what you're doing with the ego, by putting those pauses in there, you are aerating the fabric of your ego, and it begins to dissolve or disrupt, either word you want. You can disrupt or dissolve the egoic pattern. And all of a sudden, you realize that there's another space, another consciousness that has nothing to do with the ego. That has to do with relaxation, breathing, stillness, getting everything still. And so you want to practice 5 minutes a day, 1 minute a day, but you have to wake up. for example, Ruth, since we're talking, I asked you, the next time you ask me a question, I want you to stop for 2 seconds. And you didn't. You kept talking because you were so conditioned to speak. It's like, if I stop speaking, what will happen? Well, maybe I'll lose my train of thought. Maybe. If I lose my train of thought, is that bad? Well, I'd look like a fool or something. And then reminds me of, in public speaking, foolishness is one of the things that people have to go through. You have to be willing to be a fool. And one of my favorite tools is the tarot cards and the major arcana. And the major arcana has all the psychological tools or things that people go through. And the number one card, the 0 card, is the fool. 0, you got, and the more you allow foolishness to be in your reality, the more authentic that you will be, because you're no longer trying to portray a certain way of being. You are fluid. You have more fluidity in your speaking. And when you talk about articulation, to be able to clearly articulate your thoughts, the 3 components there, one is clarity. So I have a thought inside my head. I want to bring that thought out into the outer world for you and your audience. How do I describe that thought? With my hands, with my voice? Is it clear, or is it not so clear? Is it jumbled and blah, 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 blah? And most people's communication is pretty jumbled because there's no time for me to digest what you're saying, because there's just too much food coming at me. And if I can get things clear, that increases understanding. And the third component of articulation is fluidity. Ooh, fluidity. What is fluidity? Well, fluidity is the oil that reduces the friction. And the saying, Ruth, is that space is the lubricant that reduces the friction. And that creates healing in your psychology of your physical body, mental body, and emotional body.
Beautiful. I just wanted to say it's pretty much the same what we do in Ayurveda or what we do in any other healing practices. When an individual has fallen out of balance, I feel this is exactly the same protocol. I love that. That's beautiful. And it's so funny because you said, I didn't pause. And I thought, oh, wow, I created so many pauses when I spoke. I think I'm usually a really fast speaker. Obviously, there's so much I can learn from you. But I was surprised when you said that, because I thought I had totally done that. I thought I had paused at least once or twice.
So you started to pause here. That's the first time you've actually disrupted the automatic flow. And the ego does not want to be disrupted. The ego has been in charge, the CEO of your life. And so now we're saying, you know what? The being is going to take charge now. Well, what's the being? Well, the being is the empty space in which contains everything, but you're the empty space rather than something in the empty space like an ego or a me. Problem with, if you identify yourself as an ego or a me, then all I need to do in order to rattle you is to say something that attacks your identity, something that you've identified with. Let's say you're a football person and the World Cup is going now and your team has just lost. Oh, Ruth, your team, what a bunch of losers. Yeah. What do you mean a bunch of losers? Those guys should... So all I have to do is say something that you've identified yourself with, and that which will cause you to be upset, and so you're out of control. You are a victim of my speaking. But if you're the being, then there's nothing that you can say, because I haven't attached myself to anything. And so now you're able to be present and keep your body relaxed and manage your breathing. Breathing is real important. But
Totally.
but you can't breathe unless you stop speaking. I tell people that, this is a sound and this is a sound. You put the sounds together and try to breathe through this. You can't. You got to. When I can create a space, a pause between the sounds that I speak, I now have access to a transformational space in which I can take more oxygen in my body. The saying is, the breathing, there's the lungs will hold 6 liters of air, and the tidal breathing is just the in and out, and relax is about half a liter in, half a liter out, half a liter in, half a liter out. But if you said to somebody, all right, take your breath, and now take on top of that breath you just took, take some more. You can add another 100 to 150% more energy in your body by just taking that additional breath to fill up your lungs to a more maximum level. But you got to tell yourself to do that, and that's why you need this. This is your command override switch. So in the middle of our conversation, I pause, a voice comes inside my head, Alan, go ahead and take a breath right now and relax your body. Perfect. Now go ahead and speak. Talk. Stop. Alan, move your body a foot to the right, a foot to the left, and take a breath and relax. So now I have control of the instrument. And most people don't have control of the instrument. They're able to speak, but they're not able to control the instrument because they don't pause.
I love that. And I've got 2 questions again. So one question, is there a certain rhythm that we use to create these pauses? And number 2, how do we transfer those pauses into our daily life? Because I feel, yes, it's important in speaking when you are a speaker, but I also feel it's super important to transfer all of this into our lives, because I feel this is exactly what's happening in our lives and why there is so much suffering in our minds going on.
You bet. The analogy is going to a gymnasium to work on building muscles. You want to build the space muscle, you want to build the pausing muscle, then you need to practice pausing and creating spaces as often as you can remember doing it. That's why having a daily practice is so valuable, whether it's 5 minutes a day in the morning, 10 minutes a day, hour, and I'm sure you have a practice, because when you practice, you're practicing becoming still. Get your body still. And when you get your body still, the thoughts inside your head become still. But if your body is agitated, your thoughts are agitated, you spend the whole day in a state of agitation. So you have to have times where you can experience stillness. And every time you experience stillness, the image that comes to mind is an egg, a golden egg, and you are inside this egg. And you want to break out of the egg. You want to come out of the egg, but there's a shell around the egg. And every time you consciously pause, it puts a little pinprick into the shell of the egg. And you're inside the egg, and the pinprick now, there's a beam of light that shines now into the inside of the egg, and it's a little lighter. And every time you practice pausing, another little hole, another little hole. And as you practice and practice and practice, pretty soon the shell becomes weak because you put holes, and all of a sudden the shell dissolves and a bird emerges And so the symbol in alchemy is often the alchemical vessel with the bird and the fire and the water, and all of a sudden the bird just beams and expands and grows and is liberated. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't cost any money. You just have to be committed to take a practice and pausing as much as you can. And so the rhythm gets better and better and better. You spend more time keeping your body relaxed. You're more aware of, Alan, keep your body relaxed. Alan, keep your body relaxed. Alan, keep your body relaxed. And when I catch myself thinking, I can stop the thinking. And when I stop the thinking, I can redirect it into my body and create that relaxation. And one of the techniques we can share with your audience to be able to stop the thinking is actually called STOP. S-T-O-P. Mm-hmm. So stop means anytime during the day, I'm thinking about something. Okay, so I'm going to stop thinking and I'm going to become still. Mm. Takes about 30 seconds. All right, close my eyes, become still. And I'm going to take 3 breaths. So that's the T, S-T, take 3 breaths. Mm-hmm. Full breaths. So you get more oxygen in your body now, not just that half a liter. We want 1.5 liters of fuel into your body. And take that nice deep breath. And then the O is to observe any tension. And as you breathe out, imagine that tension is flowing from the bottom of your feet into Mother Earth. Mm-hmm. And do that 3 times. And then the 4th one is the P, proceed with kindness. Whatever you're going to do, smile on your face, say joyful, have a joyful thought, look at the wonderful birds and the flowers, be grateful for something, acknowledge somebody, do a kind act of kindness, and then continue on your day.
Beautiful.
And that is a technique that you can do. And what's really cool about that is that whatever thought you were thinking before you started the stop technique, when you finished, I forgot what I was thinking about. And that's important because you made a thought disappear. It evaporated and you don't know what it was. And that is the dissolution of the ego, because the ego are the thoughts.
Yeah.
The ego is are all the thoughts in a big ball inside your head. I mean, you want to unravel it. And pausing unravels the thoughts.
Beautiful. I absolutely love that. I just feel really that our reality outside there
yes.
Is very different to really being or not being able to, because obviously everything is our own choice. But I feel the reality is completely the opposite of what you have just been saying. Or maybe it's just me who's feeling like that, but I really do feel that the outside world does not appreciate us pausing, being present, and taking time to breathe and do the whole stop thing. I would love to know, where can my listeners find you?
I'm right here.
So,
here I am. Hi, everybody. This is me. I'm alive and well. You can get me electronically through the website. The website is acamindfulu.com. And that would be a way of entering into my world. We have training programs. We have individual coaching programs. We have Zoom. We do coaching all over the world via
fantastic.
Zoom. So I am very much excited about being able to do that. Plus, I get to be at home and I can talk to you. I mean, it's really pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, as long as we can still put in those stops. Are you on social media as well at all, Alan?
Right. We have all the social media links, which I can send to you, that you can put in the notes.
Yes, please.
And we're connected to that world.
Okay.
I also just the idea of the outer world and the inner world I'm also a student of the Course of Miracles.
Okay.
And the Course of Miracles talks about the thoughts that we have. It says that the thoughts that you think and what you see in the outer world are the same.
Okay.
If I think that you're a nice person, Ruth, I see a nice person.
Yeah.
And I'm going to react to you like, oh, she's a nice person. So I'll use whatever behavior that I use with nice people.
Yeah.
But if I think, Ruth, you know, I don't think you got one of them funny little accents. You're not an American. Like, you're not a real good person because you're not an American. And so if I was really identified with America and I look at the enemies of America and you're a foreigner, you know, and I would begin to terrorist and all these negative things, and I'd begin to react to you that way. So when you begin to realize that the thoughts that you think create the reality that you experience, and you realize you have no control of the thoughts that you think. And so you have no control of how you automatically view the world until you begin to pause and disrupt the flow of your speaking, which disrupts the flow of your thinking, which aerates the soil of your thoughts and allows you to be still and allows you, all that reactive stuff goes away. You anger, for example, people have, you know, anger is an emotion that often comes up. You're angry at this, you're angry at that. And people in the United States, there's 600 violent shooting gun crimes last year, 600. The violence, the upsets, the irritations, people are not in control of their emotions. And so they react and they regret it maybe later, but in the moment, they don't have control of the instrument. They just know that you did something and I'm upset by that and I'm going to do something bad to you. Well, it damages you, but you don't know it. It damages you.
So very powerful and empowering. I love it. Thank you very much. I would love for you to share 3 gold nuggets with my audience just to finish. So just 3 pieces of beautiful wisdom from you that are fairly short. Could also be a summary of what we have just discussed.
Sure. One golden nugget, which I mentioned, is breathing. Breathing is a key to it. It's available to everybody. Everybody breathes, but most people do not consciously breathe. It's an automatic breathing. But when you can consciously breathe in for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 2, breathe out for a count of 5, hold the emptiness for a count of 2. You disconnect from that stream of thinking inside your head.
Totally.
And you create those spaces between and that begins to relax you and get your body more grounded in the moment. And so we have the breathing, and immediately you have the grounding of your body. Most people don't think about grounding their body, getting their body anchored, getting their body still. And if you can practice the breathing exercises and just stilling, getting your body physically still, just get your body still. See if you can keep your body still. And a great place, which might be the third one we're talking about, is to practice in front of a mirror. Practice standing in front of a mirror like I'm sitting now. Imagine I'm looking at a mirror. Can I just get my body relaxed, close my eyes, then open my eyes and just look at myself without saying anything? Just see if I can keep my body. And most people are going to move their body and the eyes will go like this. And eventually they'll be able to settle down and practice, because this is not something, it's not conceptual here. It's non-conceptual. It's practice. You have to practice this stuff. You can't read it in a book. And so I would encourage your audience, this will be number 4, to go and take 5 minutes a day, 1 minute a day in the beginning. Just see if you can find a quiet place You're not going to be disturbed, minimal distractions, where you can just get your body absolutely still. Nature would be great, being out in nature, and just breathe. Just for 1 minute, then maybe 2 minutes and 3 minutes. And then eventually you will flip and realize that there's a lot of value in doing it. I'm going to add it to my work-life balance. I'm going to make sure I have time for meditation and my yoga every single day. Just like brushing my teeth. You don't miss brushing your teeth.
Totally with you, absolutely. And I just want to share that when I started meditation, which has been a long journey, a dance of on and off, I found it really excruciatingly hard. I just could not sit there and be still. It was just the way I was conditioned, my whole identity and everything screaming at me.
Yes.
Like, you're not meant to just sit there. You're a bad person. There are so many other things that you could do right now. So for me, this was a huge process. And I was just sharing this because I feel meditation is a huge thing now. And absolutely, it is. I don't want to, say it is not. But if it doesn't come easily to you when you're listening to this now, it didn't come easy to me at all. And I was already a yoga teacher, yet I couldn't meditate. So, it's okay that we all learning and practicing. And even now, that sounds wrong. I've got days where it's easier and I've got days where it's still really hard. So many different thoughts. And I feel just being still, sitting still is uncomfortable. So I just wanted to share this with you. Is there anything else that you would like to share? I definitely feel we have to have you again because there was so much amazing juiciness in there, and I would love to have so many more conversations about other things. But for now, is there something you would still like to share with my audience?
Something from the Course of Miracles, which I found to be very valuable to me, is when you look at the reality in which you live, there are things that you like in the reality in which you live, and there's things you don't like in the reality in which you live. They'll call those complaints about things. I complain about this, I complain about that, I complain about you, I complain about this. These are my grievances that I have about what my mother did to me when I was 5 years old, and that situation over there. I will never, ever forgive you for what you did to me. And so you carry that unforgiving grievances with you your entire life. And holding on to grievances is like holding on to a cannonball and jumping into the ocean. And you are drowning in the ocean, but you can't let go of your grievances because my ego has identified who I am. I am a victim. And I can point to you. You made me a victim. My mother, my father, my teacher. What all the terrible things that have happened to me, and so you live this illusion inside your head. And so, how do you escape from that one? Open up the Bible and look at the Lord's Prayer, and the Lord's Prayer tells you what to do. I believe in the forgiveness of my trespasses and for those who trespass against me. The Apostles' Creed. I believe in the Holy Spirit, which is the being conversation, not the physical, but there's something beyond the physical. And I believe in the forgiveness of sin. And the sins and so you have to practice forgiveness. But the ego does not want to forgive. The ego wants to be right, and I will never forgive you, Ruth. So you can kiss that idea off because I'm never, ever going to forget what you did to me. Well, it looks like I get to be right, but it physically affects my body. It mentally affects my body. It emotionally affects my body to the deterioration of your physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Let go of your grievances. Let go of the cannonball. And you'll notice that the ego says, I can't do that. I can't let go. That's undeserved forgiveness. what they did, it's true what they did. I can't forgive something that's true. Well, I know it's hard. It's difficult at first until you realize that forgiveness is the only path to happiness is forgiveness.
Totally.
Suffering is grievances.
Totally agreed. And I feel that when we forgive someone, this doesn't mean that what they did was right. It just means that we have chosen to not take the same path, but to free us of that whole story. And I feel this is important because, some things, maybe weren't really right or were very cruel that happened in the past. And I feel when we consciously can say that to us, it's not about saying, this was right, what happened there. It's a different thing. We can still forgive, and we are not making ourselves victims. Do you agree with that? Yeah.
Yep. You're definitely, you're no longer a victim. And it's not, we're talking about a non-conceptual. See, the victim are thoughts inside your head. And as you aerate the thoughts inside your head, you no longer take things personally.
Yeah, absolutely.
You realize that your mother is doing the best she can with the resources she had.
Yeah.
Your mother does what her mother told her to do, and her mother told her what her mother told you to do.
Absolutely. So
it comes down from it. And then you tell your kids what your mother told you to do, but it didn't work for you, but you want to tell your kids to do it, versus get your body relaxed, manage your thoughts and emotions, get that under control before you try to handle someone else's life.
Beautiful. I love it. Like I said before,
I love it too.
I could chat with you forever. I want to thank you and acknowledge you for all the amazing work that you do. I am super grateful for you, that you help making our world a healthier, happier place. You are amazing, and I'm a huge fan of you, and I can't wait to have you on again. Thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you very much, Ruth. I enjoyed the opportunity. It was wonderful chatting with you too.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you loved and enjoyed this episode, I have a little favor to ask. Could you please help me to make our world a healthier, happier place? It is my experience that many of us, many of you believe that the state they are currently in, even if they don't feel the best version of themselves, is very normal and a normal state of aging or life. And I know that it is not. I know that our bodies have the amazing innate capacity to rejuvenate, to reset, to heal, and to recover. And it is my absolute wish and passion to make sure that as many of you get hold of the amazing knowledge that is in this podcast and that is available for you, so you too can reset, recover, and rejuvenate. So you can help me on my mission by sharing, subscribing to, and liking my podcast, because this will help for others to see it too. I know that you were born to live your best life and feel absolutely amazing in your precious body, your boundless soul, and your brilliant mind. So what are you still waiting for? Please make sure you do. I believe in you. I'm your biggest cheerleader. Keep glowing. Much love.